Hello, everyone. This is your host, Sanjeev Goyal. I'm back again with an amazing IIT Delhi alum with us, Shailesh Upreti. Shailesh has done phenomenal work in the battery technology, but in reality, he's really perfecting the way future will be powered. Shailesh, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Appreciate in the invitation.
So, Shailesh, let's start with some easy questions. So,
Sure.
what hostel?
Nilgiri.
Nilgiri. Go
Yes.
Neil. I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of Nilgiri people, students will love that. Love to hear from you. And
Yes.
you did PhD from IIT Delhi. Can you talk a little bit about your experience at IIT Delhi?
Yeah, I would say that was very transformative journey for me. And obviously IIT brand and all the good education you get, the infrastructure the IIT has, primarily around the material science and everything I do in energy and batteries. I would say that the basic foundation, after my university was built in IIT. So very thankful to everything that I got there in terms of the learning opportunity, the strong mentorship and a discipline, the learning discipline. It's a lot to talk about. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal place. We both share that IIT Delhi is absolutely, even today when I go and I just walk in the corridor and the classroom, I just peek in, it's
Mhm.
amazing. It feels amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
so, any story you can share, anything which really impacted you, especially in IIT days, whether in IIT or outside IIT?
Yeah, no, I think there are obviously various things I would say during the IIT time that, as I said, that was the foundation and many different elements to that foundation attached. But one particular thing, I think that you can call it a good luck or serendipity when I was almost completing my year one in IIT. There was this new technique, now it's maybe more common, but back in 2001, I'm talking about 24, 25 years back, it's called single crystal X-ray machine. It's primarily using the X-ray, radiation to analyze structures. So you could go at the atomic scale, literally see atoms in 3D and build, like all your model around. Then you'll run the simulations, and primarily, as a result, you could analyze anything that is crystalline in nature. So most of your, let's say, pharmaceutical medicines and energy materials, like today, if we talk about the lithium-ion batteries powering the portable electronics, the electric car, it's all goes back to those atoms and how and where the energy is stored. So until then, I had only seen, atoms and molecules in books, and then seeing, not only seeing and learning how you can solve structure using the computational power available, the advanced detection system available, then advanced radiation system available. I think probably 30, 40 years back, you had to have a full room filled with all the gadgets to produce X-rays. Now it's becoming compact and compact, and same is where the detectors are. So that was very transformative. And it just happened that while I wasn't, very good at computers, but that particular technique really excited me, and I learned a lot about computer science when I was studying the material science and chemistry. So the combining the computer with the chemistry really became, when you see things in 3D, you can remember them better, you can interact with them better. The same thing happened with me. I kind of got into the molecules. I could literally kind of, I thought I was feeling I'm talking to them and they're talking to me. So I had a lot of work done for various different departments and different groups. And as a result, when by the time I was graduating, I had more publications than some of the professors in the department because I learned that technique very fast. It was a good new machine, almost $1 million machine back then, like very, very expensive. And I was the first one who got trained, in that tool. So I learned it very fast. So that was really the transforming, because then from there I learned about the macromolecules used today in drug, and whatever the medicine side, also catalyst, and like you name it, like all the research happening in IIT Delhi, I had firsthand kind of, experience dealing with it. So that was the big moment for me where, I started seeing these atoms and molecules in 3D, and that really made my learning so easy going forward.
So, Salish, you started C4V. And it's almost what, 5 years, 6 years?
So C4B almost 12 years actually,
Almost.
but the subsidiary IM3NY, which is the Gigafactory, is 5 years, yes. So the
Yeah, that's what
manufacturing
it is.
piece, yeah, the manufacturing, the Gigafactory we have is about around 5 years now.
So can you
Uh,
talk a little bit about your journey, how you come up with the idea, how you conceive that, and where are you today, and why a gigafactory? Why not something else? And you are almost like, researcher and scientist. You could have licensed this technology to someone. So can you talk a little bit about that? What really happened?
Yeah, so I mean, from my background, obviously, I come from very, let's say countryside. So I've been a countryside fellow, had opportunity to get into IIT, and I would say initially my focus was to really understand the science and tech, and then I also had the opportunity to do the MBA, and I think that was a little bit of transformation again after, let's say similar to the X-ray example, when I got into the business class, I started learning about how to make money and how to, like really get and build the value, not just the science and experiments, right? So that I would say combination of first good understanding the fundamentals, how atoms, molecules behave, then getting into the battery materials so we can design and understand how batteries work and literally build better batteries. And
Mhm.
then, um, what happened is after I graduated, I got the opportunity to work with Professor Stan Whittingham, who invented the lithium-ion battery back in 1970s. Also won the Nobel Prize in 2019. So getting under him was another, transforming part of the journey, and that's where I would say really I got into more focused around the energy storage devices and materials. And then uh, after working with him, I moved to a company that used to manufacture cathode materials, that basically a raw material that goes inside these batteries. And then I learned, a little bit of science, a little bit of supply chain, a little bit of manufacturing, and then, all that mixture when got into the PhD, a little bit back on the back seat and MBA on the front seat. I think I thought there's a lot that can be done with that knowledge, and I wanted to also experience a little bit outside the 9 to 5, because I always had that passion, like we need to really create value, and you can't bind the knowledge and innovation and idea by time. So I thought, okay, I'll leave the job, and I became entrepreneur first. I did a venture into recycling before starting C4V, and that I consider like, my outside classroom MBA, where learned a lot about the business side, the finance, and everything around P&L and how to create the financial value on top of the product value. So that's and then I obviously came across some good mentors, and one of my good mentor is my co-founder, Robert Dobbs, who in C4V, very strong fundamental serial entrepreneur, and two of us, we thought it'd be good to create something that will last long, creates value for not just for me him in terms of equity value will build, but also for humanity. We need new technologies that can be adopted, affordable, as well as bring a green impact on, we see a lot of pollution, a lot of temperature variation nowadays. So I think the renewable energy was one of the other ideas. So I'm probably giving you a long response, but I think all that together really got me into this, and that turned into C4V. And then after that, when we had the product validation done by US Department of Defense, so first customer, became one of the companies that supplies product to US Navy. They make autonomous electric boats. We realized that our tech has a lot of substance, right? It works, and we actually almost beat 8 or 9 different competitors in that particular bid, where we outperform in battery performance and the cost and everything. So we thought there is definitely something we can build around this product and the technology. So the biggest challenge again was, there was no gigafactory in the country where you could go and license. Literally, there was only Panasonic back then serving
Even
Tesla.
today.
Yeah, even today there are very few independent. There's no actually we are the still the front runner, and the LG Cam, which was primarily serving GM. So still today there's no independent where you could say, hey, I want to buy batteries, and you could literally go and buy. That doesn't happen today. Still challenge. So that's why the need for a factory here. But then there was a bigger vision behind that. We also felt similar to US, all emerging markets outside China, Korea, Japan, like three countries, if you go, there is no ecosystem for battery manufacturing, which also mean you can't really have affordable electricity from renewable. If you don't have your own ecosystem built, you are relying on let's say these foreign supplies, and the cost and affordability could be one of the big challenge. So we saw a bigger opportunity here. So the easiest way to understand our business model, and we say we are the McDonald's of gigafactories, is to really build many gigafactories possible, as many as possible, and go into these emerging economies where there's a need for energy. There's need for these I call them new energy engines. So these are the factories that will really create, it's like an engine that will not only just get you a factory, but take you from one point to the other in the economic cycle, whether it's a clean energy jobs, whether it's a, national security, because a lot of these batteries also used in defense. So there's a lot behind underneath that, and that's why the model, like, okay, build one, let's have
And
that,
replicate it all over.
and then build more of that, repeatedly in other emerging markets. But also obviously the US market is big enough to cater to that market from this factory as well.
So, Salesh, we all understand energy storage is the biggest challenge today. Solar is getting better and better. We are able to produce much more efficiently now. A lot of houses even have solar today. So it's definitely changing. Uh, in terms of your learning, especially of last 2 decades, because you are in the energy space for almost 2 decades, you're thinking of planning all this 12 years, you're running the C4V and now Gigafactory. Is it a viable source for long term, or are we at a point where we have to start looking at different sources? What is your take? Because a lot of conversation happening around that. Elon Musk recently said in one of the uh, interview that I believe he picked a city. I forgot the name of the city. He says, "Hey, this city can provide enough energy, like that size of land. I mean, Nevada has so much land." I'm not sure. It's hard to comprehend that. Maybe you can enlighten our audience.
Yeah. No, I think the statement was correct. I think in order for us to harvest the energy from the renewable sources, whether it's a solar and wind, I don't think we need like huge footprint. Our needs could be served from the smaller footprint, but even that smaller is big, and that would be in terawatt hour, right? It's not just gigawatt. And in order to store that terawatt hour energy, you need terawatt hour size of batteries, and that's and industry is heading towards terawatt hour annual production, by the way. So we are definitely heading in the right direction. I think batteries are certainly your near term and mid term solution. I don't see anything replacing particularly lithium ion. Maybe some new tech like sodium and other could come into certain areas, but really the big piece, 80% of the market will be captured by lithium ion, whether it's a renewable energy, whether it's electric vehicle domain, or aviation. Like, now even there are aircrafts, these are short haul, or these aircrafts could be powered through the
Better.
batteries. So overall, I think the technology cycle, it's like minimum 15 years, then adoption cycle is another 15 years. So anything that has to really compete and beat lithium ion, that's minimum 30 year, right? It's not just about the technology, it's making that technology available,
Safe.
first, right? And safely and every affordably, and then making it available to the mass. That's a whole 30-year journey. So I don't think anything is there in 20, 30-year time frame that can completely beat it. But I think, obviously human brain, we are always curious. We have all the intellect needed to build something that is better than what we have built in the past. And I do feel there will be a lot of innovations happening in the energy, both energy generation as well as energy storage. So about nuclear, portable nuclear devices. That could be one of the solutions evolving in 30-year time frame that I see would be probably the only other solution that you can call, green enough and long enough to beat, I mean, the duration wise to beat the batteries that exist today. Hydrogen has its own challenges, but I don't see it's competing head on with with lithium ion or the batteries. It may have some areas where industrial application or some other areas where it could create and a niche, maybe like class 8 truck long haul, maybe some room there, but not really the bigger market of the batteries.
So, Salesh, if you look at the whole world, there is a lot of investment, definitely. I think the highest is in solar energy. Uh, I see Japan is really after hydrogen. They are still pushing all their cars with hydrogen and all. They still don't believe it. Most of the major companies, auto companies, which surprises me, of course. But who knows what's right, what's wrong. I do see the value. Recently, I met even the CEO of Mazda. We briefly chatted about solar and not solar, basically electric and the hydrogen powered car. And then Elon Musk has invested heavily in molten salt water reactors. So, what do you see? I know tomorrow, of course, we understand there's nothing going to replace what we have today in next decade. But 30 or 40 year down the road, what do you think can be a potential area for us to look at it or invest more, especially from IIT or the new alums perspective?
Yeah, I think some of the, and again, I hope that happens, because nuclear, we always have this fear factor that there'll be a nuclear, big nuclear blast, and that is not good. But I think we all know there are many nuclear power plants which has, again, its own side effects when they are not managed properly. So there are downside of it. But I think that technology has potential to be the mainstream energy supplier if we can advance the tech to make them portable, right? I think there's a lot of work happening. I've read a few articles where you wouldn't even have to charge the batteries, let's say, for 5-10 years. That the kind of energy available. But I think it's still, as I said, the 30-year, which I feel would be needed to perfect that tech to make it human friendly, because it's radiation and it's not good for the health as well. So you have to somehow you know confine the bad part of it and somehow find a way to extract the good part of it. And I think that's where a lot of innovation, I feel, would be happening. And we may create these, and with nuclear, the good thing is they are the generator as well as storage together, very similar to, like, crude oil,
I
right?
mean, you can tweak, tune up and down on all those. So there's a lot of control with that.
Yeah, and that, as well as you don't need another renewable to support. So, for example, batteries in itself they can do anything other than storing energy. Unless you have solar panel on rooftop, you're not gonna get light during night. But in nuclear, the benefit is it is its own generation and storage, so it's both in one package. Like, unlike hydrogen, again, hydrogen, for you to generate hydrogen, you need energy to produce hydrogen, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
pretty
not really
expensive.
self-sufficient. So this one is in true like 360-degree self-sufficient. And that's the technology, I feel, if anyone or any tech that can beat, let's say, renewable, it has to be the nuclear.
So, Sailesh, one thing kind of I constantly think about where the energy is, where it is going. And if I look at especially last 30, 40 years, the big change in our society and the world happened because of this place called Silicon Valley. A lot of innovation came out of Silicon Valley, a lot of investment going even today. Uh, Best of the best brains are in Silicon Valley. There is a high concentration of such people. I don't hear anything like that for energy. I mean, where is the next energy valley? Because I believe we really need to bring the smartest people like you at one place and create a place so the ideas can really grow, because it's all about ideas. I mean, last 30, 40 years is amazing. Like what Sam Altman has done is fascinating. What Elon Musk has done is fascinating. It's just, but you need to surround yourself with the smartest people at, or you need to be at a place where you have amazing people at one place. And another, just to add on to that, I felt is the big reason Silicon Valley is successful because of the Stanford, UC Berkeley, that's really the best of the best institution at one place. It's not just the people, it's just the institution. It's institution too. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's very valid, I think, question. I agree that energy storage, particularly US, we are way behind unless, this whole IRA thing came up where the financial incentives were very attractive. There wasn't much happening on the production, and which is directly then connected to innovation. Because if you can't take technologies, let's say beyond TRL 6, 7, and they die after that, then there is no commercialization happening and there is no economic impact that brings. And so no big name and big billion-dollar valuations and values that, right, at all that. So the irony is, if you look at anything, any battery that you buy today from the market, whether it's the battery inside your iPhone or inside your Tesla car, most of these technologies were invented right here in the US. So believe it or not, like 99% of batteries are powered by two key cathode chemistries, LFP and NMC. So LFP was invented, I think it got invented in University of Texas, and NMC was at Argonne National Lab. But you don't see any of that manufacturing happening here. LFP, China controls that manufacturing, NMC, Japan and Korea controls that mostly, right? So I think we definitely need, whether you call them incubation engines or startup engines, and a driver that go beyond just tech and having those technologies convert into a product, and eventually that product converted into a successful company, and that successful company converted into an industry, which is what Elon Musk has done, and Facebook has done, Google has done, really taking the innovation and building the whole industry around it, right? And that, I agree, doesn't exist. But if you have to pick a place, I would say pick Binghamton, because we have $300 million investment that has happened in R&D. That's not us. We have obviously raised our private capital, but this is the federal government and state government. New York State invests heavily right now. And then there is a reason I say it has to be Binghamton, because Binghamton has been now finally designated as the battery tech hub, federal battery tech hub, which is the only and the first battery tech hub in the country, right? So, and then on that basis, there is over $200 million recently announced in last, I would say, 2 year, maybe 12-month time frame, on top of the previous infrastructure that are already built. So there'll be enough R&D infrastructure, but in order to really utilize that infrastructure and build this whole startup ecosystem where both innovators and investors can create value and create brands, global brands, I think that's a massive undertaking. And I think there are many companies now looking into that, like relocating here and getting benefit. So I mean, that'll be obviously all stakeholders would have to work together, but it's tough to duplicate, Silicon Valley. I mean, that's the fact. But there could be some effort done in that, and hopefully in Binghamton we will try doing it.
Well, that's up to you and the state government. We both know it's see one thing, Salesh, which actually bothers me, and I'm reading and studying a lot about it. And so I was in Rome a couple of years ago, and was in Greece too, and it was fascinating thing I realized. I mean, my son was talking that they were building these castles, these walls, these canal for generation, because average life was 40, 50 years. So they knew this canal they are building will be of use for the next generation. Like the kind of foresight we have, or even the Great Wall of China, for whatever reasons, their basic reasons are, but they were building it for next generation or next generation, 100 years, 150 years. They're building the forts and other things. I don't see that mindset today. I think the challenge I see it is the mindset has completely changed. It's very short term. We are not really doing pushing ourselves as solving the problem for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now. We are so focused on solving problem for a year so we can generate shareholder value. And that I may be completely, out of, I'm just mind, but don't you see that as a problem?
Yeah,
Really
yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
short-sightedness.
Absolutely agree with you. I think the convenience in life, I mean, if you the old days, you have to really struggle hard to go from point A to point B. And that hardship really taught you how to think long term. And you were never like, hey, just reach there quick. Now it's quick. Like even the car doesn't seem like it's quick enough. We are talking about the eVTOL. Like, you can't go from Manhattan to JFK. It's 30 minutes is long. They want to do it in 5 minutes, right? And that race, that whether it's a race to reach there faster, race to reach there sooner. I mean, we think we learn about these. Hey, companies just started 6 months back, and they say I'm unicorn now, and the valuation is
Yeah.
$1 billion.
What's up with that? I mean, I'm just saying you're bloody not solving any problem. You just want to be unicorn. It just like being I look at our past and it says this is completely wrong notion.
It is to some extent, but at the same time, I think people are delivering what other people are liking and wanting, right? So if you
Shareholder
have
value.
a mobile app and you want food delivered at your doorstep, if there are 2 million users that you can sign up in 7 days, someone building it, right? What do you do? Like it's how you can't change human psychology, and changing that will be the most difficult task. So what I'm trying to say is, while that is happening, there is, I think it's the responsibility of the society jointly, right? So some people moving fast, some medium, and but some need to really think long term and create businesses and products that are creating, value for generations. And I feel, something that is related to hardware innovation that we need to really foster in the country. We need to promote them, whether it's a chip manufacturer. You saw like chip, well, how much money, like $10 billion, one company is setting a plant. uh, Everybody realized that, hey, you can't just run cars on software. You need hardware as well. And you may have the most advanced software, but it could fail if the hardware is not supporting the, whatever the algorithm it need to support. So, and there's no chip available. And then suddenly, thinking, hey, we need to create that. And, Chips Act is here now, and same is IRA for batteries. So I think it will come into cycle, and I'm pretty sure when high speed exists, the low speed will also exist. I'm sure when the short sightedness exists, then longer vision will also exist. It just, we need more of those, need to be promoted. And those businesses also need to be given the attention and the valuations and the values. I mean, valuation doesn't necessarily mean the dollar amount. I'm talking about the recognition and the equity value
True
that,
value.
the true value that,
What difference are you making?
yeah, the difference you're making, and also whether it's a long term or not. Because if you can create an app overnight, and that you may have 7 lakh, but the next guy could create in 1 hour, right? Same app. So whereas in manufacturing, you have to put a lot of sweat. And I think the manufacturing side of the innovation need to be promoted, fostered, and I think the investment need to go there. So whether that happened through Silicon Valley or some, equivalent of that, or dispersed, but that is where I feel you would create generational innovation that will support, multi-generation life cycle.
So, Salesh, I always enjoy talking to you. It's really wonderful to speak to you today. Do you have any parting thoughts for our audience?
Now, just first of all, thanks for inviting me again. Thoroughly enjoyed, and I think what you're doing is amazing, particularly the with the IIT context. I think it's very important back home. The intellectual knowledge that IITs produce, and then eventually have social impact. I think it's equally important, because we all are like busy, whatever, whether it's a personal life or professional life. I think programs and this initiative like yours. So thanks for including me in that. And I hope this become a channel for all of us to share knowledge and connect, and hopefully then propagate, and hopefully make it available through this platform, all our knowledge sharing back with guys who are in their year one or year two, and we
Yeah.
create a chain that then goes long way.
So, Salesh, before we close the show, the three things I wanted to really talk and share with the audience I've learned quickly in last 30, 40 minutes with you is one is be curious. You were really, really fascinated with this new machine, this X-ray machine, and that transpired, creating such an amazing organization today. Now you have a huge gigafactory, and you are really changing the way energy needs to be stored or can be stored, and really pushing the envelope. There's tremendous opportunity. You and me both know. In fact, I've personally invested in one solid state battery company. It's just a phenomenal time when we talk about energy storage. And number two is really don't be disheartened with your failures. Failures are life lessons. You have attempted few other initiative in your life prior to this, and where so it's just a learning curve. And the
Yes.
last one is if you don't push yourself, if you are really going after next app which can deliver food in every minute, just think, is it a real problem? What is your impact? And it's not, we are not talking about legacy. How are you really changing the life of the humans? How are you solving the problems of the future? It's very important. So, Salesh, with that, I want to thank you for your time. It's really awesome. And I will look forward to have you again. And hopefully next time we'll have some expert on battery technology and storage technology, and maybe we can have a better conversation really in a longer format.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sanjeev, for inviting me, and look forward to, continuing these discussions as and when needed.
Thank you.